Hey y'all, Jesse here at the Tri-Cities Airport in Washington. I want to talk about landings. Unless you're an experienced heavy aircraft pilot or aviator, you don't know what a good landing is. So what I got to share with you today will hopefully allay some of your fears of flying, commercially, and kind of enlighten your mind a little bit. So I'll start off with my best landing ever. Was in the eyes of the world anyway. I was going into Frankfurt airport in Germany after a really long 30-hour day. I just happened to be flying in the commander of Special Operations Command, 3-star general, and his deputy, a 1-star general. And it was my turn to fly. It was the last of a 3-leg trip, so we were all really tired. And it was late at night. Anyway, I'm like, well, let's give these guys a soft landing. They've been through a lot. Kind of a side note on these guys, this is the kind of men they are. We always offer up our bunks in the cockpit to generals or VIPs that we're flying. And so we offered these guys to sleep in our bunks, and they're like, nah, we'll sleep in the back with our men. And I'm like, right on, bro, right on. So I'm like, we got to give these guys a good landing. So we're going into Frankfurt, like a 13,000 foot runway or something like that, really long. So I just kind of floated down and just let the airplane barely touch down. Like, it was almost imperceptible when the wheels touched down. It was pretty slick. Anyway, they gave me a coin, they thanked me, went about their merry way. But it was kind of like the perfect timing to have the best landing. Now, that's actually not the best landing. That's actually not a textbook landing. So textbook landings, I'll get to in a minute. So I'll tell you my most embarrassing landing was actually right here in Tri-Cities Airport when we're flying a training mission. McChord Air Force Base is here in Washington on the other side of the mountains. And, we fly training routes all around central Washington. And so we're coming in on final approach back there, and there's this golf course, and it was the middle of the day, really hot, and there was a big thermal in this industrial area back here. And as I came across, coming down the glide path, I came across that thermal, it, picked the airplane up. And I did a no-no, which I knew, but reflexively I pulled back on the power to be able to settle the airplane back down on glide path to land in the touchdown zone. Well, what happened was, as soon as I flew out of that thermal, I had no power to keep the airplane going. And, like airplane engines are like turbos. They essentially are turbos, and it takes a minute for them to spool up and get their power. And so, I needless to say, I pushed the power up, but couldn't get it in time before I hit the ground. And man, we hit the ground hard. Like, the wingtips almost touched the ground. Literally, I looked out the side, and the engines are just bouncing around like this, and the wings are flapping like a bird trying to take off. It was bad. And there's actually an indicator that comes up on the annunciator panel that says hard landing. And if you see that, then the airplane has to be grounded, and it's got to be inspected, like you basically broke the plane. I thought for sure I was going to get that annunciation, and luckily I didn't. I was amazed that we didn't, because we hit the ground so hard. And this is by C-17 crew standards. Like, if you were just a random passenger on that airplane that day, you would have thought your teeth are going to fall out. Anyway, so the C-17 is actually super, super tough, because most airplanes come down at a 3-degree glide slope. The C-17 on assault landings, we come down at 5 degrees, almost twice as steep. And we're, since it's a heavy airplane, it's not just about putting it on the ground, it's about stopping it before you go off the end of the runway. And since we're designed to fly on short airfields, we want to stop the airplane before we go off the end of it. And so the way you do that is you dissipate all that energy by hitting the ground hard and letting the suspension of the airplane and the flexion of the wings absorb all that energy, and then you don't go barreling on the end of the runway. So it's important to have firm landings. So if you're flying on a passenger airplane and it's nighttime and it's snowing and the runway's icy and the pilot's just floating that thing down as the runway goes passing by, you should have cause for concern. Like, you want to put that airplane down and you want to like hit the ground and lose some of that energy so you don't go sliding off the end of the runway. So that's the lesson in landings. Now here's the spiritual corollary here. If you think of aircraft like paradigms or frameworks of information or beliefs, you know, when you get to your destination and you've successfully landed, unless you're the crew or through passenger, you're going to get off the airplane and continue on to your destination. And so, you know, that's one of the qualities of like a globetrotter or traveler is they learn a lot about places and cultures and people. And most of the time, these people do these travels in airplanes, and so the airplanes are a component to this learning experience. And so if you think about like paradigms are components to learning things, you know, churches can be paradigms, schools can be paradigms, traditions, precepts of men. All of these things can be good, they can be bad. I think where they become problematic is once you've landed and you don't get off the airplane, what's going to happen? You're going to go back to where it came from or to the next destination, which, you know, isn't your destination, or maybe you don't care about a destination, but you're going to end up staying on the same airplane. So eventually you got to get off. And so I think that when you accept and seek after other true paradigms, you expand your understanding of the world, and you develop wisdom. And so the next time you're flying and the pilot slams it down on the ground and you're like so scared that the plane's gonna break apart, just take comfort in knowing those airplanes are built super strong, they're made to absorb energy, and that it's just another paradigm. That's all I got for you.